In this town we call home, everyone hail to the pumpkin song.
Hello everyone and welcome to day 27 of Terrorthon. Today we are finally tackling the horrors of the music world, and we're going to be looking at a little thing music fans call the 27 Club. Now what does that mean? Well, a lot of popular musicians have died at the age of 27. After a string of deaths at the beginning of the 1970s, this term was coined, and it is now considered a curse to be a musician at age 27, and if you make it past it, well, you're probably in it for the long haul. So who actually belongs to the 27 Club, and is there any merit to it? Well, let's examine some of the more famous cases right now. So we're going to start with Brian Jones. He died on the 3rd of July 1969. Who was he? He was the founder and the original leader of the Rolling Stones, one of the most influential rock bands, or bands period, in music. Even to this day they're still performing. Brian Jones was discovered motionless at the bottom of a swimming pool by his girlfriend at the time. His death was ruled a death by drowning, but they reckoned that his past drug and alcohol abuse played a big part in his death. After this we had the death of Jimi Hendrix, who died on the 18th of September 1970. He was the leader of the band The Jimi Hendrix Experience, and is often considered, even today, as the greatest guitarist who ever lived. And let me tell you, if you've ever seen him playing guitar with his teeth, I reckon there's a lot of merit to that statement. He was found by his girlfriend Monica Danneman at around 11 AM in his room. He was breathing, but he was unconscious and unresponsive. His death was later ruled to be asphyxiation and from breathing in his own vomit. At the time, he was intoxicated with barbiturates, which are a type of sedatives, and what's quite spooky is he had died just 14 months after Brian Jones. Next to join the ranks of the 27 Club was Janis Joplin, who died on the 4th of October 1970. She was one of the most prolific and known rock singers of the late 60s, and she appeared at perhaps the most famous and legendary rock festival of all time, Woodstock, which many of the artists on this list did as well. She is known today as the Queen of Rock. She was found dead on the floor of her hotel room, and alcohol and drugs were in the room. It was a possible heroin overdose, or perhaps her heel had gotten stuck in the shag rug and she'd fallen onto the floor and died that way. Jimi Hendrix had died just 16 days earlier before this, and Alan Wilson, who was the leader of Canned Heat, had died just a month earlier, and he was also just age 27. And like Jimi Hendrix, he had also died of a barbiturate overdose. It was possibly suicide, but this was never fully confirmed. Next to die was Jim Morrison on the 3rd of July 1971. He was the lead singer of the band The Doors, who are often considered the very first goth band of all time, and one of the most legendary rock acts ever. He died on the same day as Brian Jones, 3rd of July, and 10 months after his on and off friend Janis Joplin. He was found dead in the bathtub of a Paris hotel room, and the official cause of death was listed as heart failure. Now, he might possibly have overdosed on heroin, but because autopsies were not required by French law, we will never know that for sure. Fast forward 2 decades and we have perhaps the most legendary figure in recent memory to join the 27 Club, Kurt Cobain. He died on the 5th of April 1994. He was a musician from the age of 15 and became the frontman for the legendary grunge band Nirvana, who completely defined the grunge genre. He had several suicide attempts before he finally succeeded, and possibly under the influence of heroin and morphine, this was never confirmed for sure. He shot himself in the head with a Remington Model 11 20-gauge shotgun and was found by an electrician 3 days after his death. To this day there are several conspiracy theories about whether he was murdered, was it really suicide, what really happened, and the Seattle Police Department are asked on a weekly basis to reopen the case. Finally, for this particular video, we have Amy Winehouse, who died on the 23rd of July 2011. I was at a party when her death was announced in the news, and everyone froze in shock. Everyone brought out their phones to confirm it. I will never forget it. She was a legendary British soul, R&B, reggae, jazz singer, and more, and to this day she's considered a legendary singer in the jazz scene. She was found by her bodyguard hours after her death in her bedroom, probably from an alcohol overdose, but her family members believed her bulimia and other drug issues, like she had a heavy addiction to cocaine. They heavily believed that this played a part too. So, does the 27 Club hold any merit? Well, most people believe it to be a simple urban myth, and it's been proven that there have been equal increases in the death of musicians at ages 25 and 32. Now, no one is going to dispute that fame will increase the risk of death, especially with access to all of these drugs and a very heavy lifestyle. But the thing is, statistics show that musicians are actually most likely to die at age 56, and there's no 56 club. So it really is just an urban myth, but people still talk about it. And as I said before, these days if you make it past the age 27 as a musician, you're considered to be in it for the long haul, even if this is just a load of old nonsense. Or is it? See you tomorrow.